Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Connor Gray and Andrew Santangelo. We finally have a full house back. It has been nearly a month, but we finally have three people in one room again. It was a long wait to do that. I don't know how it took a long time to get three people in one room, but it did. And we have a lot to get into today. We have a lot of World Series stuff to cover with softball, basketball, hockey, football even. There's so much going on. Baseball. It is a crazy time of the year, so I'm going to get started as I always do. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing, I would say, doing pretty good if you don't count basically a lack of sleep.
Yeah, I mean, that can be a problem.
I'm basically running on caffeine and energy.
There you go.
What would life be without that, though? I mean, that's the only way. That's the only way to live, right? I mean, what's sleep these days? I'm doing well though. I'm doing well. Ready to get back at another show, and 2 days in a row here.
Well, all righty. Well, it has been a busy week, as I've mentioned, and truly, sports never sleeps. Whether it be something going on the West Coast, East Coast, or 11 a.m. here in good old OKC, the Women's College World Series already underway, starting at 11 a.m. today. And boy, we start with an upset. We start with craziest result possible. Texas getting a 7-2 win over UCLA in a game that I really didn't expect. I don't know if anyone expected Texas was going to come in and just beat UCLA up the way they did. It all started in the third inning. Horns started to get everything going. I mean, my goodness, you get the third inning just looking at it here. You get Dane with a single, Jefferson grounds out. But there was an interference call, which is a little weird. I'll talk about. We've had some weird rulings already 2 games into the World Series. We already got weird stuff going on. But it was the Iacopo 2-run home run that really turned this game in Texas's favor. And the Longhorns just ran with momentum. They continued to build that lead, You get the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year out in a Megan Ferrero in the third inning. So Texas just playing amazing. They get the 7-2 win, the biggest upset in World Series history in terms of an unranked team beating the number 5 team in the country, and by scoring 7 runs on them, the most Texas has ever scored in the Women's College World Series.
I will say that box score, going back up the top, kind of says the story. I mean, for Texas, 7 runs on 13 hits, and obviously any other stuff that happened, but UCLA only getting 2 runs, which was 7-2 score, but only really 6 hits, and then they have 2 errors.
Yep.
That just kind of just shows how their day really went, is that, and everything just went right for Texas. I mean, you knock out the Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year. I mean, that just shows just how on fire Texas is right now, and kind of just shows some of these teams are not as invincible as some might think they are.
Yeah.
And also, me and you we thought UCLA was going to win this one, though I thought Texas was give them some sort of a fight. But I didn't expect Texas to pretty much just do whatever they want with them.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one thing I've talked about this before, and I will say it till the end of time. UCLA is a weird enough team where if you just take anything away from them early, if you just come up, hit them in the mouth, and hit them again, they'll fold. They always have, they always will. If you let them get back into the game, they'll hang around, and win. And we saw that late in the game, getting a 2-run home run in the bottom of the 6th, but when you're up 7-0, you can afford to take a hit like that. It doesn't really matter at that point unless it gets serious.
I mean, they took that hit, that 2 runs, and then Texas like, you're not getting any more after that.
Yeah, Texas just kind of like, okay, whatever. We're up 5 runs. It doesn't matter right now.
This is the team that managed to get out of the Seattle Regional and beating up Washington, and then they managed to, after being humiliated in Game 1 against Arkansas, proceeded to pretty much outscore, like not even let Arkansas really do anything.
Yeah.
That just shows just how really good Texas is, and not really, like their record kind of shows they're much better than what some people think. I understand they got over 40 wins, and they have, is that 18 losses?
19. Yeah.
I couldn't tell. It's so tiny.
Yeah, I mean, a 44-19 record, and you got to remember, like, over half of those came because they went to the Clearwater Invitational, and you played 4 top 15 teams.
Like Texas played really good teams.
Texas played a lot of good teams. People thought, okay, this Texas team is below 500 midway through March. They've lost a lot of games to good teams, but people are like, okay, they're not making OKC. They may not even make a super. they will probably host a regional.
Well, they're proving
and
everybody
Texas,
wrong.
Yeah, Texas has proceeded to prove everybody wrong, and we will get an all Big 12 matchup because Oklahoma gets a 13-2 win over Northwestern. I am very happy. I am whelmed.
It's like nothing really happened in the first 2 innings, and then after Northwestern goes up 1-0, Oklahoma just finds another deer and starts blasting them.
I'm going to tell you the exact moment Northwestern made a mistake. I'm going to go play-by-play here. This is the exact moment Northwestern made a mistake. They hit a home run. You don't score on Oklahoma. They'll take that. It's the Michael Jordan meme where it's an I took that seriously or I took that.
I took that personally.
Yeah, I took that personally. When you go up on Oklahoma, they take that personally. When you've only trailed for 3% of your entire season, you wake up the machine, and the machine answers back with 6 runs in the bottom of the third and 7 in the bottom of the fourth. And how about bringing Jordy Ball in to get the final out of the game? Hasn't pitched in nearly a month. Let her get in there and get the final out of the game to get the crowd riled up.
Is she healthy now?
She's finally back. She's healthy. She's ready to go. She doesn't have anything on the arm anymore. She's fully operational, able to move it, do whatever. We're good to go there.
Okay. I probably expect her to start tomorrow.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she starts against Texas. I could see OU throwing Nicole May out just as a bit of a sneak attack, just like, oh, surprise, we're going to save our ace for when we actually need her, or maybe put her back as a closer again. I don't know.
I mean,
you got 3 good arms. You could switch this around any way you want now.
Well, I mean, unless they're still not wanting to risk having her throw so many pitches, and then she ends up re-injuring the arm again.
Yeah.
Because she just got back from injury. I understand she's rested it for almost a month now, but it's like you don't want to re-aggravate something, so you probably they're probably keeping her probably as a closer for now.
Yeah,
but I think it's going to get to a point where they're going to need her to be a starter.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I think most OU fans, if you talk to them, they felt Jordy Ball's going to have to pitch if OU wants to win a national title. You're going to have to throw her at some point. She's going to have to play meaningful innings.
I mean, I think they're talented enough even without her to go out there and win. I mean,
I also think the same way.
But I mean, this is the game you try her out in, an 11-run game there. I mean, worst case is if something starts to happen, you just pull her and go back to somebody else. I mean, you did the right thing here. You try to get her. I don't think she'll start a game. I think it's going to be more of a reliever type situation at this point for her. But
when did she come in?
She came in literally with 2 outs in the bottom of the fourth, or the top of
So
the
fifth. So they got that run off the other pitcher?
No, they got the run off a ball. She came in and gave up a hit and then gave up another hit, and that scored a run.
I bet she finally got the ball.
But both times it was an 0-2 count. They got a hit on.
But I mean, at that point, you're not. When you're up that many runs, you're not. You just need her to go out there, get some pitches, get some reps.
It was more of like
get a feel for the game again. I mean, obviously, shouldn't lose the
field. It was
field,
more, I think, just trying to hype the crowd up and everything. And, hey, look, we threw her in there. You've been demanding it for 2 weeks now, even though that's a horrible idea to put an injured person in.
Well, I think even just for her mindset too. I mean, because if something happens and they do need her down the stretch, you don't want her coming into a game later on in the rounds and
you don't
her
want her
having it thrown a month. So
you don't want her come in this scenario. Like if the game was really close, and you bring her in and then she loses the lead, then stuff's going to happen with her.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's best to only bring her in when with this scenario.
Yeah, and I agree with what Patty Gasser did. I'm just saying there were some people who were like, can we bring her in for game 2 of the Supers? Like, I would love that if she just came in like WWE style with everything on, just rips it off and yanks it or throws it in the crowd or something funny. But it's like, no, that's not going to happen. You had to save her for now, and they did.
It's like, why would you? It's like, especially the way they beat up UCF, there was no need
for the pizzazz, Connor, for the style points.
Yeah,
got to win with flair.
Talk about style.
Talk about style.
You can do that in the World Series, which you just did.
Yeah, I say.
So you don't want to blow your load too early.
Unless you want to score 13 every game, which, I mean, I highly recommend.
That's not what I meant. You know that's not what I meant.
I know that's not what you meant, but I highly recommend OU scores 13 runs every game.
That's not going to happen.
It would be very cool, especially if they did it to Texas.
No, I mean, OU can do whatever they want. That team's good enough.
They are good enough. But talking about what will happen later today, I know we've all made our predictions: Florida, Oregon State, Oklahoma State, Arizona. But looking at the top of the bracket again, just to get everything situated there, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, ESPN2, UCLA and Northwestern, another top 10 team is going home. Going to be an interesting game there. A bit more of a pitcher's duel, I think, in this one. And it will be really weird to see UCLA and Northwestern in an elimination game this early. I mean, these are two teams that are probably some of the better teams you would think in the World Series, and one of them's going home. One of them's going to be that first team gone. And then Texas and Oklahoma Saturday at 2 o'clock on ABC, going to be the first time ever ABC carries a Women's College World Series game. And what better game to do it than old Red River rivalry in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, I think tomorrow's game is gonna create a nice matchup. I think honestly, I think Northwestern's gonna take that game. I think it's gonna be a game created there. I think the way they look today, UCLA against a Texas team, I think everyone expected OU without question to win that game. I get obviously losing by 11 runs is a lot, but OU's a tough team to score off of. UCLA struggled with Texas. Even though as good as they are right now, but I like Northwestern to take tomorrow's game.
Yeah, I think for that one, I think it's kind of hard one, but I think Northwestern rebounds. I don't think UCLA really recovers from the beating Texas gave them. I think Northwestern will give UCLA some problems.
So I think Northwestern will give UCLA problems as well, but I got UCLA. I'm the odd one out here. I got UCLA taking this one. I can't see a year where UCLA goes 0-2 and falls out. I just don't see it. I know it's probably happened before. When you make it 30 times, it's going to happen at least once. But UCLA, to me, I feel like that's they're too prideful or too historic of a program to go 0-2. I think they'll be able to find a way to get around Northwestern. Like I said, if OU can make that change and figure out a change up in 3 innings, I think UCLA can figure it out in 4 or 5 and get the win there.
That's the fun part about that upset is it creates – I mean, Texas goes on. It's not like you're playing an unranked team now. You're playing another top 10 team.
Yeah.
So this is a year that where I think it could happen just because, I mean, you're playing two top-level teams Texas run, but I'm saying, like, you already lost to a team, Texas, who's – I mean, if you're going off paper-wise and rankings-wise, isn't supposed to be as good as Northwestern. Now you're going up against a top 10 team. This would be the year that would happen.
It would be. There's a lot of chaos that has been happening this year. And speaking of chaos, one of the greatest agents of chaos, Ryan Fitzpatrick, this man has done so much for funny NFL upsets that should not happen, great nicknames. I mean, you got Fitz-Tragic, Fitz-Magic, Fitzception, whatever you want to call it. It is a Fitz-tragic day in the NFL. It is not a good time to see him going. I'm glad for him. He gets to retire and do whatever he wants now, but he will be missed.
He's made quite a bit of money.
He has.
So, and also it's like the few times where like he's had one season where he was just out of nowhere great, and then he's had several moments throughout his career where he's just been a great backup. Backup has a great game or two, and just some of those upsets are just magical.
Yes.
So, but obviously we loved him for his really thick beard and also just him being a crazy man at times.
Yes, we all love him when he was at Tampa Bay and wore the craziest outfits imaginable.
I also love the one where he went to the Buffalo game and he actually ripped his shirt off in the middle of the cold.
Yes, that's great. That's true Midwestern energy right there. Even though he's not, I don't know where he's from, but that's strong Buffalo energy right there.
It's like. For everything, even the stuff that happened when he was at Buffalo, he is part of Bill's Mafia at heart.
Yes, he is.
But,
he's part of every team's fan base.
Feels like it.
He's got his own fan club of all 30 NFL teams.
Well, which NFL team didn't he play for at this point?
Yeah.
It feels like he's played for everyone.
No, exactly. I think you count more teams he hasn't played for than he has.
Probably.
But no, I was surprised by this move, to be honest. I thought he'd go another year as a backup. I mean, if your favorite team signed him as a backup, one, I don't think anyone's complaining. And two, he's probably one of the best, if not the best, backup quarterbacks in the league. And, I mean, we've seen the importance of backup quarterbacks in the past. And that's where this surprised me a little bit.
You just want him coming off the bench. You don't want him starting a game. Unless it's against Tom Brady.
I'm just saying, like, if your starting quarterback gets hurt, if Patrick Mahomes goes down, would you rather Ryan Fitzpatrick or whoever your backup is now? You're probably going to pick Fitzpatrick.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just saying is like – because if he has to, like, for instance, he comes in and does really great as being the backup, but he has to start the next week. It's like, oh, no, that's the kind of thing you're worried about. Okay, which Fitzpatrick are you going to get?
That's where the magic starts.
Yes, that's where Fitzmagic
For
starts.
good or for worse.
See, he needed to just do what Nick Foles did, so he really could have had the magic. Like, really could have used that magic nickname if he would have had a year like Nick Foles.
Yeah, you just need one where he comes in and is like, okay, if he's injured, we only got 3 games left in the season, so Fitztragic is not legally allowed to happen until the 5th game. So we're going undefeated. That's all I'm saying. Is that one where if your quarterback gets injured, it's like, okay, it's game 5. Okay, we're starting our 3rd string. We're going to put him in as a backup after the first series, but we're going to name him as the 3rd string as a starter to keep Fitzmagic going for 4 more games. And then you could just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Forever.
But
you got to manufacture that magic.
Ryan's Fitzpatrick will be missed.
He will.
Though I hope I see him again in another Bills game and him going crazy.
Yeah. Or maybe he'll play in the USFL or XFL. I don't know. If
he
he ever wants to, he probably could.
Yeah, he'd beat out a good amount of those quarterbacks.
He probably would. But softball's not the only thing going on today. We also have some NBA Finals action going on tonight. I know we've talked about this on a few of the shows. Golden State still a 3.5-point favorite, and we did get some injury news. Gary Payton II is expected to play tonight. He is finally back after the injury he took in the Memphis series. Golden State, like I said, 3.5-point favorites. This is going to be fun. That's the main thing. I'm excited for this.
I expect some defense out of this.
This will be a fun series. You get the Warriors, who are one of the better offensive teams in the league. Boston's one of the better defensive teams. 2 pretty historic franchises in terms of they've been around. Some of the original NBA franchises. A lot of history between these two.
Boston, obviously, with their historic legacy of winning so many world championships, and Golden State having very much recent success, despite the fact being one of the oldest franchises in the league.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's a matter of Golden State basically at this point kind of has to. Some people are like they have to win this to prove that they don't need Durant to win a championship. So like they did it before, but obviously you know how some people have that stigma that they couldn't have won 2 more without him. Mm-hmm. Even though I thought they could, they maybe don't win the total of 3, but they win 2 without him. But obviously Boston gonna be that tricky team to deal with. Because
they're an interesting team.
They're athletic. Sure. Not many teams can match how athletic they are, and that's where it's going to come in big, especially in this game 1. If they want to steal it, they're going to have to win this game with defense, and I think that's where they're going to create the biggest problem for Golden State. And that's the thing about Golden State is I think they're the most balanced team. They got offense and defense, while Celtics offense is going to struggle at times, which we've seen in the past. They're not going to go out and drop 120. On a usual game where the Warriors can do that on any given night. So that's where this matchup is going to be very, very interesting and very intriguing. And whenever these 2 teams play each other, it's incredible. I feel like this has been a finals matchup in the making. I can't remember. It might have been last year or 2 years ago. I think it was either a Christmas game or it was some holiday game. And those 2 teams just went at it back and forth. And I remember thinking, this is going to be a finals matchup one of these days because of how much it went back and forth. I think Smart hit a big shot late in that game to seal the win for the Celtics. And they stole it on the road. I can't remember how long ago it was. But anyway, again, this Celtics team, too, on the road, they're probably one of the best. I mean, obviously, I don't know the standings in front, but they're probably one of the better road teams in the whole league. I mean, you saw them take Game 7 in Miami. They're not afraid. They're not afraid to play out of their building, and that's where this also becomes interesting because how good Golden State is at home. So there's a lot of interesting pieces about this matchup.
I will say with Golden State through the last 2 series they had, they basically kind of their shooting wasn't. Though their shooting over the time has gotten much better from where because it hit a dead spot in the middle of the Memphis series where Curry for some reason was struggling and Clay wasn't. He made shots more toward the end, but he wasn't really throughout the game. And you really need those guys to constantly be able to at least be able to be there throughout. And they had turnover problems. Basically, they should have probably been beaten by Memphis, but Memphis couldn't get out of their own way. Dallas really just couldn't shoot well when it mattered, and pretty much already shot themselves in the foot. Also, just not playing well at home.
And that's the thing with Golden State. I mean. I'm not going to say I got lucky, but obviously John Morant got hurt, and I think if he's not hurt, that's a whole different series, especially in Memphis having home court. I mean, we've seen in the past that Game 7 against Houston where Chris Paul couldn't play. Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows what would happen if Paul plays in that game. So, I mean, obviously you can pick and choose certain things there, but that's the thing with Golden State. I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be interesting. Curry needs this win. I think you mentioned it, how everyone views Golden State and everything. Can they do that stuff?
I think the thing around him, he needs to win a Finals MVP.
it's incredible to think about that. Like, they've got 3 titles, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he has a Finals MVP.
No, because
No, he
Iguodala got that
Yeah, it was
one.
Iguodala, Durant. Who was the third?
That's
it.
again.
Yeah, I think it was Durant.
Durant
Durant
got
got
two?
2 in a
Okay.
row, despite the fact I
Yeah.
didn't think that Durant had the.
So
You know how this works. Draymond Green's going to win it or something random if the Warriors win.
don't say that.
Or Wiggins. Finals
There you
MVP
go. I
Wiggins.
I can live with Wiggins. I cannot live with Green.
Wiggins going to average 15
But
rebounds out
I
of
think
nowhere.
but I think for this one, I think it's like.
Or Kevon Looney.
It's like I think, obviously, when the series goes back to Boston, I'll probably favor Boston much more. In regards to that, they'll probably play better, but obviously, it's like I still expect Boston to basically take it right at Golden State, and Golden State might have a few stints where they'll falter, but I think for just in regards to Game 1, I think Golden State takes it and goes up 1-0.
See, I actually think tonight's where they're going to falter. I think Boston's defensive. I think their defense is so good they're going to cause problems tonight, and it's going to cause Steve Kerr. And I think Steve Kerr and the Warriors will make the adjustments. I think the Warriors are going to win the series, but I think Celtics will find a way to take tonight, just because I think the way they'll mix matchups with Smart and Brown and how athletic they are, they're going to get out on the perimeter and cause problems. And I think they'll win a low scoring games in terms of the NBA.
Yeah.
So I think I think Celtics take tonight, but I'm going to take Warriors in 7.
Yeah, I can agree with that take, but I do probably expect Warriors to win it in 7 also.
Oh, so we're all in agreement, Warriors in 7 then. Okay.
Yes.
Good to know. Also,
But who do you think's winning tonight?
I think, personally, I agree with what Andrew said. I think Boston's going to come out. They're going to play a lot of good defensive adjustments. You're going to see. But Steve Kerr is the master of these things, of making these on-the-fly adjustments, and we have veteran leadership with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins coming into his own. Kevon Looney's becoming a playoff factor. I mean, there's a reason people were – I mean, it was a meme at first of Kevon Looney Western Conference Finals MVP. That got more realistic as that series went on.
I will say
this
also,
go ahead.
I will say also Warriors turning a journeyman and Gary Payton II into a more better defensive player is also something that really helps out.
Yeah, that helps.
That just shows just how good the team around him has made him better, and also Steve Kerr.
Yeah. I just think at the end of the day, the Warriors' depth is going to show in this one, and that Boston will come out. It wouldn't surprise me if Boston's up at halftime, but I think it's going to be kind of similar to what you saw against Dallas. That third quarter Warriors is going to show up. They're going to make good adjustments. It'll be a tight game going into the fourth. And at home, in the Bay Area, I like Golden State to close it out and win Game 1. But some other fast facts here. Warriors and Celtics split the regular season series 1-1 against each other. And also some things I was thinking of. How fitting for the 75th anniversary of the NBA, we get a technical rekindling of one of the first ever rivalries, Warriors-Celtics. Wilt Chamberlain versus Bill Russell.
Yeah.
It's just to bring it all full circle for 75 years.
Wilt Chamberlain was the only one to beat Bill Russell.
Yep. And also another funny stat. For 75 straight years, a player who has played on the Knicks has made the finals. This year, it's Luke Cornett, who played on the Knicks for like 3 seconds and now is a role player in Boston / bench rider / whatever they need him to do / hype man on the bench. I don't know what he actually does. I've never seen him in a game in my life, but he exists.
Moral of the story: off-season goal over any superstar.
Yeah.
Just go get a Nick.
Well, see, here's the thing. Mavs had Tim Hardaway Jr. and Frank Ntilikina. What the heck? We had 2 Knicks players. Boston only had 1. Why do they get
Well,
it?
you can't have 2. You can only have 1.
I guess
that was your problem.
Because your guys can't stay healthy.
We need a third one.
Yeah, it's gotta be an odd number. You need
Yeah,
you need a.
I mean, we had Porzingis for a while, but that would have been
Nah,
3.
you traded him.
Yeah, I know. We traded him. Gosh dang it, us. Should have never traded him.
Well, you guys seem to do much better without him.
We did.
Well,
We did.
Even though I think in the series you probably could have used him.
Yeah.
But
nope.
no.
No.
You don't want Porzingis on your team.
No.
Well, at least the iteration you had with him.
We had, I'm telling you, we had a 7'4" shooting guard. It was great. I loved it so much. No one rebounded. So
That's why
fun.
you guys need to go out and get an actual center.
I would like one center, please.
Alright.
I would like one 7-foot person that is not Boban.
I can't wait for you guys to lose Jalen Brunson and let him come home.
We're gonna trade Brunson.
Coming home.
We're gonna trade Brunson to I don't know.
City of brotherly love.
Yeah, there you go.
Play to Villanova. It's time for him to come home.
There you go. The last rumor I saw was if we go Brunson would be like Knicks or Pistons or something like that. Which, I mean, a Brunson-Cunningham front court, yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
That's going to be a dangerous duo.
Do not give him to the Knicks or the Celtics. That's all I
Okay,
ask.
well, the Knicks were the next team I was about to mention that they were looking to sign him if they could get him.
They'll just waste his career.
He's one of my all-time favorite Villanova players. You cannot let him go to a rival. I need to be able to root for his teams.
Don't worry. The Knicks will just waste him.
No, that's why I'm worrying.
They do everybody. So if he does go there, you'll just know that he'll be wasted.
Are the Knicks the Browns then, or the NBA?
They could be. Well, I don't know. The Knicks actually have won.
It's like the Knicks haven't been at the bottom of the league. It's basically right now the Rockets are the Browns.
I mean, who has? Oh gosh. I mean, I would probably say.
Or you say Sacramento is.
Sacramento.
Oh, Sacramento's a good pool.
Sacramento probably is.
Sacramento is a very good pool.
Sacramento's got to be. I mean, even Bottlegate and the Kings-Lakers, you have the same conspiracy theory of this game is rigged that happened around the same time period of early 2000s.
The Kings is a very good pool.
I mean, the Kings might as well. I mean, I'm almost expecting them one day to get moved to Seattle, and then you get Sacramento Kings Part 2.
The worst thing is with Sacramento is that they haven't been. They haven't necessarily been like at the very bottom.
No,
but they're always just hanging around like between second and fourth. Almost.
They need to bring it on home and go 0-82 and have a parade. They got to bring it on home and be full Cleveland.
No offense to Oklahoma, but they bring in Buddy Hield, who's supposed to turn the franchise around. Browns bring in Baker Mayfield, who's supposed to turn the franchise around, and now they gave up on both of them. So.
Yeah, that is true. They did.
So
if that means Baker's going to the Colts and somehow QB competition with him and Matt Ryan for no reason,
Buddy Hield, you can still get probably gets about between 12 and 15 points out of him, while Baker's arm just kind of gives up every now and then.
Baker, you got progressive commercials. Take that back. You got the greatest progressive commercials of all time.
Buddy's gone.
They're up there, but they're not the greatest.
They traded Buddy, right?
Yeah, they traded him to the Pacers.
They traded.
That was a part of the Sabonis trade.
Yeah.
I mean,
once again, Sacramento just doesn't know what they want to do.
No, Sacramento has no idea what they're doing.
Pacers don't want to know.
Listen, they took Marvin Bagley over Luka Doncic and Trae Young. That's all I'm saying. That's all I need to say about the Kings. I mean, I could go on even further.
I will say this: they're a very, very good 2K team, though.
They are a very good 2K team.
They're my 2K21 team, and I would not lose with them. They got players on that team.
So let me tell you a fun story here. So I play 2K a lot. It's a lot of fun to do. I will always do like these long, almost dynasty type things like you would do in Madden or the old college football games. Marvin Bagley somehow always has like a 10-year span where he finishes top 3 in MVP voting. He always turns in like a guy that averages 28 points a game.
Didn't that start with 2K19?
Something like that.
Yeah, no, 2K19 was the one where you pick him usually because whether you're using an expansion team or anyone else, you pick him because he actually maintains a good stat.
He becomes Tim Duncan too.
He doesn't he never busts, but like he does in actual reality.
Yeah, it made no sense to me. I was just like, oh, hey, the Kings are going to make the play. Why do the Kings have 55 wins? That's not allowed. That's illegal.
Because that team was supposed to be good. Every year I picked them as my dark horse to make the playoffs because they had so much young talent and potential in that team.
I do the
and
same
they just
thing.
could never win.
I did the same thing with Minnesota for a long time. Oh, they had Kevin Love. Maybe one year they'll do something good with it, and then they never really did anything.
And that's what's a shame. I mean, at least Minnesota had their year this year.
Minnesota
the Kings never had that.
Yeah, they at least have a future.
Every year is like
the depression.
They draft De'Aaron Fox. It's like, oh, great young pickup there. Then they get Buddy Hield. Oh, they got their shooter they need. Then they sign Whiteside in the offseason. Oh, great center down in Miami. There's the center they need.
But
they
never need 18 power forwards to go with that.
I will say, does Sacramento even want their team anymore?
Yeah, I mean,
or do they
that's like a rumor every 3 years that the Kings are going to get moved to Seattle. I've heard that as long as I've lived.
It's like because it feels like the current ownership and management just don't really know what to do with this team.
No, they really don't.
Which team moves first, Oakland A's or the Sacramento Kings? I feel like both of them. Every year.
Oakland A's are moving first.
Okay, let's make it a 3. Who's moving first? The A's, the Coyotes, or the Kings?
Hey, there's no rumors. The rumors about the Coyotes leaving. They're just going to College Stadium.
I don't know. They had a. That's so. I probably
come to OKC. We'll take you.
Yeah, I would like.
or Tulsa will take you.
I think a hockey team would actually do very well in OKC.
Oh, yeah, it's like
I mean, we had the Blazers. We had the minor league team.
And it averaged almost 10K, which is the biggest of any minor league team.
led the league, led the minor leagues in attendance for over a decade.
I mean, you see it with the colleges. I mean, how well their attendance is and everything. That's why. I mean, obviously it's not the biggest market team, but I mean, the college attendances is always high and close to sellouts, if not sellouts. Exactly. The Thunder, obviously. I mean, you look at the Thunder attendance this year, even for a team that was tank. I mean, obviously late in the season it wasn't as high, but I mean, even the start of the year, I mean, the atmosphere is still great. I know I went to a couple games and I was never disappointed with the atmosphere. So I mean, it's a good city.
Thunder fans typically, like, even when it's like at the point where attendance, like you said, it's not as high. Many people still show up to it. So it's like, and also mainly because tickets are much easier to get because the team's not doing as well. But people are still showing up, so it means there's still support there. Yeah, I mean,
Thunder. That's shocking.
Thunder were bottom, but that's still nearly 15,000 a game for one of the worst teams in the league. Still 15K, 81% capacity. You beat the Kings. That's not much of an accomplishment, but you beat the Kings.
The fact that the Kings actually were able to average 14,500 is astonishing, especially how bad they are.
That's incredible that Oh, it's not in order. Never mind. I was going to say, I thought at the bottom I saw 80%. I was like, that's incredible that the lowest NBA attendance is 80%. Even was it 75% Wizards?
Yeah.
Even that's a pretty good number. I mean, you look at, I guess, you look at other sports. 75 is the lowest attendance average. I mean, that's a pretty good number for 75% there.
Yeah. So
I mean, that kind of just shows how well the NBA has been able to get attendance.
No, exactly. That's especially with how bad ticket prices are and everything. And I mean, you go down to a game and you got your parking ticket's almost more than your game ticket now.
Yeah, depending on
these
where
days
you are,
and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. That is where that's good for them. Yeah, obviously. But I wish all the sports would get that. It's a shame when you see empty stadium after empty stadium.
Yeah, it is. It's never a fun time. We're on attendance, so I might as well bring it up. How about that 103% attendance for Dallas? We love our Mavs.
Is that even possible?
That's because the Mavs always have a bunch of standing room only stuff.
But to me, you still got to take standing room only into your tent. Like, to me, if you're making your capacity number, you know how much standing room there is. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you account for standing room, these numbers could be much more higher.
Yeah.
Oh no, absolutely.
The percentages would go down because there's not as many standing ones that are willing to do that. Though I'd probably be willing to do it.
Here's the thing that I always will find funny about Dallas sports, though, is you have the Mavs and the Stars, and if you like those teams, you love those teams. But everyone likes the Cowboys. You don't even have to care about sports. You're like, Cowboys, yeah. But if you know anything about sports, you love the Mavs, you love the Stars if you're from that area, you're a Rangers fan, God bless your soul if you're a Rangers fan.
But
just imagine
basically,
being
if you're
a
not
Texas
a
Rangers
Dallas,
fan.
basically what you're saying is if you're not a Dallas, if you like Dallas, pretty much everyone else is like you love these other teams. You're passionate about the other three sports, but football, it's like, oh, all right.
Yeah, it's like football is a very casual thing because that's just ingrained into the culture of the state of Texas.
Yeah, it's like it's ingrained.
You come out and by the time you're 4 years old, you know everything you need to know about football and why America's team is the best team. Cowboys winning the Super Bowl.
And also
every year.
you're the most lucrative franchise ever, and also you're historically the best team in the state easily.
Yes.
So obviously in Houston for a long time didn't really exist until the Oilers came around. Well, Oilers came around the same time, but then they moved, didn't have a team there for a while, and then
then you got the Texans.
But basically, in regards to success, Dallas has always been that team everyone goes to.
Yeah.
Especially their stints in the 70s and 90s.
Yes. And let's actually look up NHL attendance here since we've been talking about, or I made the joke about the Coyotes because that attendance number is going to look really fun in a few years. But as you can expect, Tampa Bay up at the top, Washington up there, Dallas, like I said, number 7. And looking...
Arizona's 30 out of 32.
Arizona's, 11,000. That is not very good for an arena that seats 18,000, 19,000.
Yeah, that's not good.
But shout out Ottawa, 9,150.
I mean, you're that bad.
You only got 47%.
Yeah,
that's like, think about that. We just got done. NBA's lowest was 75.
Yes.
Their lowest is 47. And then Buffalo 53, Arizona 67. Like, that's just that's bad numbers there.
So basically, the worst numbers are basically the bottom 4, mainly because those teams are not playing well.
Yes.
I mean, but the thing is, Ottawa, it's weird because Ottawa, obviously being in Canada, it's you think, well, at least those numbers would be higher because Canada, but it's no, that's really bad. It's Buffalo's just been bad for years, so I'm kind of, so them getting almost 10,000 is actually kind of astonishing.
That makes sense. I mean, the Sabres have been kind of like a joke for a while.
And same thing with the Coyotes, except it's Coyotes is you don't really, there's been talks about this team not having great attendance at all, but yet their average is 11,000. So it's so they do get people to show up. The issue is they lost their stadium.
How about the Rangers, man? You're in the Eastern Conference Finals and you're 17th in attendance.
Yeah.
Come on, New York.
People like the Islanders more than the Rangers, I guess, if we go by attendance numbers.
I think it's more people are more passionate about the Islanders than because the Rangers are like the New York Giants. They're that team people say they casually root for, but it's they're not the most overly passionate unless you just go find passionate hockey fans there.
Actually, think about this: Colorado, Western Conference Finals, 11th. Edmonton Conference Finals, 22nd. New York Rangers Conference Finals, 17th. That's incredible. Your best teams aren't even going to the games. You're talking about the NBA. You just got 75% numbers. Your best teams in the NHL aren't even going.
Is this regular season numbers?
Yeah, this is all regular season.
I will say their attendance for playoff. Some of these teams that are not doing that probably should be doing a lot better. Especially Edmonton should be doing a lot better, but I guess some of those fans switched to being. No, Calgary's even way at the bottom. Jesus Christ. I guess just there's not as many. I guess I'm not sure what's going on in Canada, but it's kind of weird some of these teams are not hitting higher attendance.
Okay, so we actually have breaking news. So the Tempe City Council today had their city council meeting. The Arizona Coyotes were there to pitch their plan for the arena they want to build there. And from reports we have, Gary Bettman, commissioner of the NHL, said he endorses the plan for a new arena in Tempe without reservation. If it is approved, there will be a document stating that Arizona is not allowed to leave the state for 30 years.
Oh, boy.
And let's see here. Also, they will guarantee the NHL draft and All-Star game will be played more frequently in the state of Arizona. They will build stuff out there, and they will host the draft, and they will host the All-Star game for the city as well.
Well, I think it's you do want to keep a team right there in Phoenix because obviously it's one of the biggest markets in America.
Yeah,
it's number 6 or something like that.
Yeah, it's a pretty.
So
big
it's
market.
you got the NHL really need financially and logistically you want to keep that team there because it will help with help the NHL out, but. But they got to obviously that has to get all approved by the city.
Yeah, we've got even more breaking on because this city council meeting is getting a bit interesting. So there's the Sky Harbor Airport that is in the city of Tempe, and they've sent a bunch of representatives to this city council meeting today to protest against the new arena because it is built close enough to the airport that the hotel and everything they want to build in that area would not be feasible because you're going to hear planes flying over you so much, and they're saying about the noise, it would not be comfortable for a person to live there in that area because of the airport, because of how close the planes would be to the arena and everything like that.
How close is it? I mean,
it's within half a mile or so. It's pretty close.
Yeah, that's a little.
So
I know.
this is still developing. We got
If it was
15. This was 15 minutes ago. We got this update.
If it was probably 10, 15 miles out, that'd be one thing. But then again, I'm not sure how much of a cluster that would be for.
Yeah,
I was gonna say the Philadelphia airport's right next to all of our stadiums. I don't know. It's definitely
but they don't have a hotel and theme park and pools and all that stuff also right there. They're trying to make a whole resort area kind of out of it.
I mean, that'd be interesting, but it's I'm not sure if that will actually boost people to really be in that area. But then again, Phoenix gets a lot of business, so you might be able to get some people to come in that area.
Yeah.
Well, plus your hope is if you're going that close to a resort area and you're trying to build all that, you're just hoping to get some tourists to buy tickets and stuff and go catch 1 or 2 games while you're on vacation or something like that. That's your goal there.
I do want to catch an NHL game.
All I'm saying is if they do the stadium series, put Dallas and St. Louis in a OU's football stadium. Just do that. Get 80,000 people there. I endorse this idea. You're welcome. You're welcome, Commissioner Bettman.
You're not going to get 80,000 people to show up.
You never know. They sold the Cotton Bowl out nearly.
You come close to selling out.
Yeah.
It's close enough where you get a mix of both teams.
So you got the Blues have a large enough fan base in Tulsa they could make the drive.
Yeah.
And Dallas has the entire state of Oklahoma if they want to take it due to TV rights.
Well, you got to deal with all the logistics of having to keep the ice really cold, and also you got to figure out what time of the year you need to do it.
Well, I mean, it's always New Year's Day.
You do it December, January when it's cold.
Yeah, they always do it in January or February. I mean, they did play it at Target Field when it was like -5 outside this year.
You're never going to match that again.
It was like even then sometimes the weather just is not.
Oh, I know. What would happen is the NHL would do it. It's like it's going to be 75 today. It's
so
like
they'd have to delay it.
Yeah, they'd have a Lake Tahoe situation on their hands.
I think the nice part, I mean, this is anywhere. If there's a weird situation and got too warm, worst case is you just move it to an arena. Like, obviously it's not ideal, but worst case is you just move it to the Tulsa arena and you play in there.
Give a refund on those
Tulsa
people.
Arena or Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I think then you'd give them like, here's tickets to a game of your choice or something like
that.
that.
Again, it's not ideal, but obviously it's good to have options, and that's what you do.
Yeah. I would love to see it happen. Highly doubt that would ever happen, but hey, I can dream. But speaking of dreaming, that's what the Rangers did. They dreamt it that they'd win. They dreamt that they'd have this big game. And
I told you I told you expect surprises from Game 1.
They came out and they absolutely destroyed Tampa Bay 6-2 in this one.
Just slapped them.
This is Igor Shesterkin's world, and we're all living in it right now. He is going insane as the goalie for the Rangers. And I mean, what else do you want to say about this game? The Rangers just came out and had an onslaught on them.
I say they tried to match the Colorado Edmonton game for the night before.
They tried.
The Lightning ran had a gas though. They couldn't have matched that third period. But
Lightning, I think, just gave up.
They really tried to get this. Stamkos obviously evened it up there in the first period and tried to help them out there. But I think the Lightning will be fine. I still think this is Tampa Bay series as they go forward. But I mean, Rangers are playing very good hockey right now. And I mean, I think they're surprising a lot of people still. I know they are for me. I don't think many people picked them to go this far or even possibly go to the Cup. So, yeah, I mean, that's all about the playoffs, though. It's all about who's playing the best hockey. I mean, we talked about Texas and softball hitting the right stride at the right time. That's what the Rangers are doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the joys of playoff hockey. You never know what's going to happen. You could have the favorite. You could have everything lined up, and it never happens. Absolutely never will.
That's why you don't want to be the President's Trophy winner.
At Florida, just every time. Can't do it. Speaking of two other really good teams, we got Game 2 tonight. Just a busy sports night. We got everything on tonight.
Yep.
Oilers, Avs at 7 o'clock. Colorado favored in this one. Both teams want to have a defense for this game. That's my keys to the game. Number one, have a defense.
I'm picking the over on this one.
Over 7. So if you get a 4-4 game going into OT or any point in the game, you get 4-4, you win. So there you go. The big news coming out of this one, no Darcy Kemper for the Avs. You're going to get backup goalies going for this. I believe the start is probably going to go to Francouz is what I would think, since he came in relief in Game 1. And Smith going to get the start there for the Oilers. Backup goalie night again. We're switching it around, trying to get things up. This is going to be another heavy offense game, I think.
Yep, I fully expect both teams to just come out at Connor McDavid and company trying to get a bunch of goals, and we know the Avalanche can easily match that, probably even more. I pretty much have Colorado winning. Pretty much, it's going to probably be a similar score. I think Colorado still wins it, goes up 2-0.
I get you want to give up on your goalie quick, but you're in your season's on the line yet. But like you're in Game 2 here. If I'm Edmonton, I honestly think about the goalie switch to start the game. I mean, Smith obviously struggled that entire Game 1. He ends up getting pulled. I forget at which point, and I mean, I forget who the backup was that came in.
I can't remember because they had Koskinson, and I mean, I really don't know what you do with Edmonton because some of that was their defense and trying to just go up and down with them. But some of that's got to be on your goalie a little bit.
Yeah, and it was, and I think that's where he came in, and he didn't. I mean, was it great? No, but I think he did better than Smith, obviously. So that's where maybe you try it out. If you give up a quick goal, you do a quick switchback. And I mean, obviously it's not ideal, but I'll tell you what, the Colorado speed is just too much for Edmonton. I mean, I think I mentioned it yesterday. McDavid is probably the best player on the ice, but Colorado's depth is the better team in the series, and it's going to show again tonight. And I mean, again, I watched that game the other day, and the speed of Colorado continues to wow me. I mean, I don't know if you've seen like a quicker top to bottom team in the NHL recently.
Yeah, it's like just Colorado just moves up and down. Basically, just almost runs everyone to death. The only way you're going to be able to basically compete with them is basically if you rough them up. Basically, try to kill their speed. That's already too much of a difficult thing to do. And plus, Edmonton loves going up and down, but Edmonton can't keep up with them. And plus, just like you said, Colorado's depth is just it's just too much for Edmonton. But it's like this. Basically, Edmonton needs to either start playing some defense or just needs to outscore Colorado because that's the only way they're going to win.
Mm-hmm. I think the Oilers will play a lot better because of the backup goalie situation Colorado's got going with. Now you're kind of an equal playing field, I think, where, okay, now you both got your backups in. This can be maybe a little bit more fair, but I just don't see how you stop Colorado. I honestly don't know how you can plan around it besides playing as physical a game as possible and trying to slow it down. And we've seen what happens when teams try to slow it down with them. You got to play that slow-paced 60 minutes. You cannot try to speed up at any point, which, I mean, it's annoying to do, but that's the only way I can think of to beat a team like this. And I don't think Edmonton has the style to do it. So I think Colorado wins again. Probably another high-scoring game. They might get a few field goals in here at some point, get 6 on the board. Probably going to chant we want 10 at some point in this series. Either team might. I got the Avs in another shootout.
Yep.
Yeah, and moving into Eastern Conference Finals Game 2, Tampa Bay, New York, back at it again in the Garden. Another fun one. Tampa Bay still favored in this game. Over under only a 5.5 this time, so not expected to be as high scoring of a series. I liked how the Rangers played in Game 1. Can they do it again in Game 2, though, is going to be the difficult question.
I mean, they have capability of being able to do it because they've done it to other teams in their previous series. But obviously, Tampa Bay is another beast.
Yes.
It's hard to stop them. They're arguably the best team besides the Avalanche. Mm-hmm. And I think the Avalanche is the best team in the playoffs, unless they get knocked out, which I don't really see happening so far. But Rangers have every capability of basically doing what they did last night, but I don't think it necessarily happens again, but I think Rangers probably sneak one out in overtime.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to match that. I think Tampa Bay's too good. They'll regroup, they'll rebound. Again, I talked about experience yesterday. I think that's going to be too much for New York in the end in this series. I expect Tampa Bay to come back and bounce back. I don't think they'll look as bad as they did yesterday. And I think that's where, again, they've been here before. They've lost Game 1s before, and I think their ability to bounce. And these are two pretty close to even teams, like record-wise and everything. So, I mean, you're going to get back and forth, and we'll see what happens. But I expect Tampa Bay to even it out going back down to Florida.
I think it's one of those things where I think I'm going to pick Rangers to win Game 2, but I think it will probably where they pretty much it's a home and home thing where each team can't win until we get down to Game 7. That's where I think it's going to go, where we'll get a toss-up for Game 7. But otherwise, I probably could see Rangers taking Game 2, but I could easily see but I think Tampa would take their games at home. But if, like you said, Tampa wins tonight and they more likely will take both their games at home, that series right there, pretty much.
Yeah, I am wondering how Tampa's going to respond because I think they will play a lot better. I don't think you'll see a night like Vasilevsky had. I don't think he's going to do that again. Tampa always has these weird games where they'll do this, where it's almost more of like a feeler game, where you can tell they're trying to figure out what to do. You get hit. That's going to happen in hockey. You're going to get hit a lot. And I think they can survive and advance. That's the name of the game, and Tampa Bay, I think, I'm going to keep saying it. I've said it a lot. Tampa Bay's going to do what Tampa Bay's going to do. They're going to find a way to adjust and win the game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bit higher scoring. I think the Lightning are going to figure this thing out as the game progresses. Could be one of those comeback wins or late third period, break the hearts of the Rangers fans and go back to Florida trying to get up 3-1 in a series. And finally, the last thing we have to talk about today, unless something crazy happens in that Tempe City Council meeting, it's college baseball time. Officially tomorrow, regionals begin all around the U.S., a lot of them in the South, a few in California, some in, is Maryland a southern state? You decide. We're not going to talk about that. That's not why we're here to discuss geography on this show. But that's another southern region if you want to add it. So much going on in college baseball. It's time to do what we did for softball, pick every single regional and why. Maybe, if we want to add and why.
Yeah,
I'm going to start with and why. Tennessee's the number one team in the country. They're very good. That's all you need to say about Tennessee.
I agree.
You got a closer that throws 105. That's unfair. No one should be allowed to do that. That's not human.
That's definitely a first or second round pick there.
That's not human right there. But you get the Vols playing Alabama State and Campbell playing Georgia Tech. Should be a fun regional for Tennessee fans and only Tennessee fans as they start to begin their quest to go to Omaha.
I think, pretty much Tennessee takes that regional. Tennessee basically got the easiest regional.
Yeah.
And they deserve it.
I mean, you're that good, you deserve to get basically almost was considered a bye at this point for a regional, even though you have to play those games.
See, that's an interesting question because I know a bunch of people that agree with that, but I know some people that if you're the one seed, it should be the hardest regional. You're the number one team. Beat the hardest. You got to beat the best 2 seed. You're the number one team in the country.
That's why you play the season. So you're rewarded with getting
especially
that.
the way Tennessee is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
I was going to say basically the way Tennessee has basically slapped almost every team that they play. I don't think they've lost a series to anyone. As far as my knowledge, they haven't lost.
Yeah, I don't think they have. They haven't lost a lot of games this year. And I agree with you guys. It's just I know some people who are. I talked to them, and they're like, yeah, they're the number one team. We should have to play the best 4 seed, the best 3 seed, the best 2 seed.
Okay, so if it's their team, they would want that?
Yes, that's what they're saying. It's like, we want to get them out of the way.
I think you're out of your mind. You want the easiest path to the supers.
I think it's more of a upset. I think it's more
okay, that's your own fault for getting upset by teams you probably should have slapped.
No, I'm saying that Cade said that they want them to get them out of the way, but I'm saying like.
I missed. Oh, my bad.
Why would you want that challenge right away? Like, if you're Tennessee, why would you want? I don't know. Why
would you want Notre Dame?
Like, let's say for instance, like you move Tennessee down to where Georgia Southern is. You don't want that regional because you got to deal with Tech and Notre Dame.
No, exactly. That's an interesting take. I mean, you're gonna. Everyone has their opinion. Yeah. I don't know if I don't have to agree with it, but
I think eventually they'll have to play Notre Dame or Tech, depending on who gets out of that regional. Because I don't think Georgia Southern's that good.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Well, they're a good team.
Like, they're a good team, but I don't think they're as good as the second and third seeds in that regional.
I agree with that.
So Georgia Southern basically got the worst regional possible. It also doesn't help that Notre Dame and Tech, who were practically in the top, like really basically could have gotten a regional, they didn't get it. And plus, because of how bad Tech's RPI was, they were forced to be a third seed spot. In fact, they finished in the top 16.
Yeah, well, Tech's problem was that I forget who it was got hurt. I think for most of the years they struggled. I think a little bit at the beginning of when conference play started. Obviously, got hot at the end. They swept Oklahoma State there in Stillwater, which was surprising, and that's where Tech really made their name at the end of the season. So I think rather than having a balanced year, that's what hurt Tech here. But no, that's going to be a fun first game, the Notre Dame Tech.
So it's like for those two teams, whoever. It's basically, I predict one of those two teams to get out of the regional. I don't see Georgia Southern. I mean, UNC Greensboro. I expect them to get bounced really quickly, but then you got Tech and Notre Dame are going to be fighting each other to see who doesn't have to go through the elimination bracket, and they'll meet up again.
Yeah, they'll meet up again on June 5th.
So, but I think out of those two things, I'm going to have Texas Tech get out of that regional.
I'll take Notre Dame.
I'm going to take Notre Dame as well. I feel bad for Georgia Southern. First of all, you sneak in as a 16 seed. A lot of people don't believe you deserve to host it, and then you get stuck with possibly the best 2 seed and the best 3 seed you could find for a regional. You get the ultimate shaft here, basically.
Well, see, I want to call it a shaft again. If you're going to reward Tennessee, that's where Georgia Southern gets these good teams there because they're the lesser of all the other ones, so they're going to get the better competition.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to that, who wants to watch Tennessee Tech and Notre Dame play each other in the first regional? Nobody. You want to see them face each other in maybe the Super Regional or down the road in the actual College World Series when it gets down to the Final 8. You don't want to see all those teams gone in the first round.
Sadly, that didn't turn out that way because they decided Notre Dame didn't get one despite the fact their RPI and where they were ranked should have probably got them one.
I mean, you got 14 in RPI.
They could have leapfrogged someone, and then Tech, who despite the fact finishing like 10 or 11 in the final polls before they set up the regionals and everything, basically was like, haha, because your RPI was so bad, you get sent as a third seed. Basically, they got in some form shafted, despite the fact the way their team overall should have probably at least been a 2 seed somewhere else.
Well, again, where Tech was, again, the start to the conference and then where they finished. They're not even a top 3 team in the Big 12, so that's what hurts them. I mean, you look at Oklahoma State, TCU, probably even Oklahoma with the run they went on at the end of the year. I mean, you got to put those ahead of Tech there.
I understand that. I just meant like send them somewhere else.
You know what I'm saying? Well, again, it's hard. It's hard to do that with where they're at in the conference and how many. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday for a little bit. There's a lot of good teams this year, and you're going to see it throughout this bracket here. Yeah. And I think I don't really hate where they put Tech, to be honest.
For me, it's just like you're putting arguably 2 teams that should have been a 2 seed. Tech should have probably went somewhere else. That's just. I'm not saying they were any better than the others. Just that. Basically, no one in the Big 12 got less than a 2 seed or hosting. And I think Tech should have been one of the other 2 seeds. Yeah. No one should Tech. I don't understand. Tech's the only 3 seed out of the Big 12, but I feel like Tech should have been a 2 seed somewhere else. Where others that are 2 seeds, they should have been right there along with them. But obviously, you basically give Georgia Southern the hardest one. I mean, I can't do anything about that, even though I think Tech they shouldn't be playing this. These 2 teams should not be playing each other at this stage of the tournament, but that's just how it is. I can't control that.
I mean, the ranking's bad for a reason. I mean, you guys talked about how bad the RPI is. I mean, so I think that shows a lot. That's I have no problem with where they put Tech.
It's mainly I'm looking at Tech how they are, but if I looked at obviously who they play, it's like okay, that's understandable why they're at where they're at. So it's like I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just thinking that they should have been a 2 seed.
Okay, we got another Tempe City Council. This is really fun to cover. I never thought a council meeting would be so fun to cover on a sports stream. But the Federal Aviation Admission has released a statement saying that this arena should not be built because of its proximity to the airport and everything. So another new chapter in the Coyotes maybe not getting this arena. And currently Arizona Coyotes is trending in Quebec on Twitter because they want them to move back and bring the Nordiques back so bad.
You already have. It's like you already have Montreal.
They don't like Montreal. They were their big rival, though.
Yeah, but it's like you already. That's the closest that the NHL isn't going to put another team in Quebec.
I know, but they did at one point, and it's still real to them. They want the Nordiques back. They
miss one can dream. Lost that team to begin with.
I mean, they want the Nordiques back as bad as I want the Hartford Whalers back.
I want the Expos back.
Yeah, them too. Bring the Vancouver Grizzlies back while we're at. Bring the Supersonics back, and Vegas gets an NBA team. Give everyone a team.
Just make all the teams 50 team leagues. Each state gets one.
Oh yes, I want to see that Fargo, North Dakota team.
Can you imagine a 50 team
I can't
league?
wait for the first Seattle Mariners Portland Pickles game for who is the sillier nickname in sports.
Hypothetically, just say, I don't know, let's pick a sport, baseball. Let's say baseball added a bunch of teams, got to 50. How many teams make the playoffs?
Oh gosh, I would say 20, but I like longer playoffs, so I would say 20 or 24.
You think, let's see, they added one this year, so what is it? It's 3 division winners, 3 wild cards, so you have 12 out of 30.
12 out of 30.
Yeah, so a little less than 50% there. So you figure, probably about 20.
Yeah, 20, 24. What I would love to see, this is my funny hypothetical. If baseball ever wanted to make a major change that I think would be really fun, it would be really difficult to do this, but could you imagine the MLB, AAA, AA, all the way down to single A being like a promotion and relegation system? Or like, say, the Oklahoma City
becomes like FIFA. Yeah. Like soccer.
Yes. Imagine like the Oklahoma City Dodgers have a good year. And they get to move up, and like Oklahoma City gets to play the Texas Rangers, or they get to go play the Yankees get to come to Bricktown Ballpark or something like that.
Basically, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to set that up to basically be up to caliber of a major league stadium.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It would never happen in a million years. No. But Manfred, if you want to ruin baseball even more, hit me up. I got plenty of ideas.
He's good at that.
But
back to baseball.
back to college baseball and not my silly promotion ideas. Stanford getting a regional, taking on Binghamton. UC Santa Barbara will play Texas State.
Stanford takes the regional.
Texas State, though, they were a top 15 team for a lot of this season. They have big quality wins. UC Santa Barbara, the Gauchos are no slouch. So it should be a fun series out there, but I agree. I think Stanford takes the regional.
It's like nothing against Texas State. I understand, like you said, they've been around top 15 good amount of the year, but Stanford's playing really great baseball right now. They're there's a reason why they're the second best team behind Tennessee. They've been playing really good baseball.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I will take Stanford as well. I do think Texas State wins a game, though. I think they'll get that if necessary game.
I could see that. Yeah.
And then the other regional going up against it, the College Park Regional. How about Maryland getting to host a regional? This was another one that people didn't think the Terrapins should be hosting. They had a weak strength of schedule in the eyes of a lot of people, but their RPI made up for it because they wailed on the Big Ten. They were able to win it. They had a historic season, and they'll take on Long Island in their first game, and UConn and Wake Forest also make the trip out there. Wake Forest does have an RPI of 6.
Yeah, I got Wake Forest coming out of this region.
I was going to
I think they've been a little bit of an underrated team this year.
Yeah.
I do like Maryland's team as well, but I think Wake's going to take the game on Saturday, the June 4th game. I think they'll re-meet up there in the regional championship and get to that if necessary game. I think that's where Wake's going to have the advantage of having to lose twice, but they'll take that game too.
I'm picking Wake. I pretty much have them. And I'm not going to have them go the necessary game. I think they clean the regional out.
All right.
Yeah, I think Wake.
I just think Wake's that much better than Maryland.
Yeah, I think Maryland. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if Maryland got eliminated in the Saturday night that would be that'd be Sunday. They do it bit differently. I wouldn't be surprised if they get beat right in here by like a UConn or something. Just one of those weird slip-up games.
Well, it's like because of the series, it's much longer in regards to time frame, so obviously they're going to extend the days out more.
No, I'm going to make everyone destroy the pitchers. You just get to throw 150. You got to play another game, son. Sorry.
Man, I forget who it was. The guy on Texas did that against OSU in the Big 12 playoffs.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but it was the 8th inning. He was at like 127 pitches. Like, man, you don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
No.
That's what happened in softball. Northwestern starter threw 450 combined pitches in 3 games in the Super Regional.
Softball does that. That's not unheard of in softball.
I know. I'm just saying it's a big difference between
the
guys.
Well, it's because you're not going to hurt. You're not throwing underhand. You're not going to really hurt your arm. While throwing over, you're going against your arm's instincts to where it's causing tears in your arm. That's why pitchers can't typically throw more than around 100. Or if they try to throw it the next day, they're basically going to destroy their arm.
Yep. And then speaking of Texas, just talking about them, the Austin Regional. Texas getting to take on Air Force. How about Air Force making it? First time in a while that the Falcons have made it. And then Dallas Baptist, Louisiana Tech going to be a fun 2-3 matchup there in Austin. I think Texas gets out of the regional, but it wouldn't surprise me if they have to come back through the losers bracket and lose a game maybe to a team like a Dallas Baptist.
I think I'm going to that's what I was thinking was going to happen. They beat up Air Force, but they have to play Dallas Baptist, who's really good. And Dallas upsets them, and Texas has to go through the entire losers bracket to get out of the regional. I can see that happening.
Yeah, I think Texas will survive it. I don't see them blowing anybody out. I think it's going to be a very good region. Yeah. Don't sleep on Air Force. Dallas Baptist is a very good team. Yeah. Louisiana Tech can hold their own as well. So this is going to be one of those fun regionals as well, but Texas will survive.
And then the regional, they would be paired up with the Greenville Regional. East Carolina getting a top 8 seed. They will get Coppin State in their first game, and Coastal Carolina taking on Virginia.
Oh, that's
should be a good one there.
That's a tough one right there.
Yeah, I think Pirates are going to get this regional. I think the way they've played, they rolled through their conference tournament with no problems. Pirates are looking really good right now.
Yeah, this is one of the tougher regionals to pick, though. I truly believe that. You see Virginia go far before Coastal Carolina won it all a few years ago. Yeah. East Carolina is obviously playing very good baseball. And I think I'm actually going with the upset. I'm going Coastal Carolina's going to survive this. They know how to win. They know how to win regionals. They're going to find a way to survive this regional. I'm going Carolina here.
So I'm thinking it's for I want to pick Virginia or Coastal because as good as East Carolina's played this year, I think one of those two teams are going to knock them out. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to go with Andrew on this one and pick Coastal Carolina to win the regional.
I'm glad you guys know what I was talking about because I realized after I said Carolina, it's East Carolina and Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you guys know what I was talking about. Yes.
Yeah,
I do mean Coastal Carolina. I will say East Carolina. They win the uniforms in this region though. I love East Carolina's uniforms.
They have good uniforms.
Coastal's got to bring out an all teal and black stuff. You got to amp that up. Your colors are some of the best color combo in sports. You got to play to your strengths here.
Exactly.
Don't wear whites ever. Just wear teal and black, and those are the only two colors you need to wear. And then the Chapel Hill Regional, North Carolina taking on Hofstra in Game 1, and the other game with it, VCU playing Georgia. Should be an interesting one there. Yeah. You got teams from all over. You got ACC, SEC, you got a pesky VCU team, and then you got Hofstra. They're just kind of there. They're just chilling. They just chilling. But
it just feels like to me this is like one of the
this is a weaker regional.
It feels like a weaker regional, despite the fact Georgia's not really that much of a slouch of a team.
Yeah, Georgia's not a pushover. Neither's VCU.
No, VCU went on to win the A-10. They got hot at the right time. I think VCU upsets Georgia. I think North Carolina will survive the region, but I think VCU takes that game 1. North Carolina will go over to the winners bracket. North Carolina will take it, but I'll take VCU in that game 1 upset. I think it's an upset.
Yeah, it'd be an upset for Georgia.
And then I think eventually you'll get North Carolina Georgia in the championship.
I think North Carolina will survive the regional. Obviously kind of expecting some chaos among mainly just VCU and Georgia, but I could easily see it's whoever North Carolina has to face on July 5th and June 5th. I think they'll take it.
Yeah, so if they're playing July 5th, that's a month-long
rain delay. That's a lot of postponed games.
Could you imagine if that happened? Where I've always thought this was going to happen in a Florida regional where they have the rain delay. It's like, what if it rains just 4 straight days? Like they're going to get they're supposed to get a hurricane in a few days potentially. And you got a Gainesville regional. I'm not going to get to see an OU game. They're just going to be playing against the wind for 4 days straight.
Well, they'll just move it is what they do. That way they can play it.
They can move it to Norman.
They're not going to do that.
Gladly take it in Norman.
They're just going to move it upstate.
Because wasn't a few years ago?
Where else can you move it upstate?
Wasn't a few years ago? I forget if it was baseball or softball for Oklahoma State. They were supposed to host a regional, but it was like right as the tornadoes hit, and they had to move it to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, they moved it to Bricktown.
Yeah,
it flooded.
It was the flood. It was the floods, not
because
the.
It was going to be the last year in P. Reynolds.
That's
flooded. Yep. I was at all the except for the final game of that regional. I was there for every game. Nice. I went to the one against Harvard, and then I went with a friend and my parents who were up in the club section because their tickets are not very expensive, but it's like they got to be on the second and got some air conditioning. It was like I was there went through that final bit where we all lost our minds. I mean, I never saw so much orange in that stadium ever. I mean, usually for baseball, that usually gets filled up with Oklahoma State. It seems like no matter what, if it's going to be played in Bricktown.
And speaking of Oklahoma State, here they are, not in P. Reynolds because that doesn't exist anymore. It's O'Brate Stadium now.
Stadium, which is a really nice stadium.
Yes, and I want to talk about this. I don't know if you guys heard with what happened with Missouri State. They have had some hotel issues. A lot of hotel issues. They had bed bugs in their rooms. There was blood stains on beds. They had a lot of dirty stuff. The NCAA sent them to the Microtel in Stillwater.
I've never heard of that.
Which is notorious for being horrendous, from what I've been told.
Sounds like.
From what I saw on social media. But Oklahoma State, they didn't get to choose where to send them. Missouri State didn't. The NCAA controls that, I believe. And they chose the cheapest place available, which is the Microtel.
It's like just give them a nicer hotel.
Missouri State players were on like Snapchat, and they were like having competitions to see who had the worst hotel room. The guy who won had his hand, and you just saw bed bugs crawling around on his hand, and he was just like, "Yo, check this out." I was just like, man, I hope they find a better place. I am really disappointed in the NCAA for that.
The NCAA is sometimes notorious for this. Where they don't want to give them at least something nice.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the most expensive, but at least relatively nice. Not like that. Yeah. I just remember it's like they just certain teams just always get the worst type of conditions.
Yeah. So I wonder if Missouri State will use that as motivation a little bit. I don't think it changes anything in there.
It doesn't change the outcome.
If I'm them, I'm taking. There was dirty laundry that was from the people who were there before
That's
them.
gross.
And if I were them, you just use that as like a rally towel. Just
No,
wear
no.
gloves.
Do not even touch it.
Wear a very thick glove. Wear 3 gloves before you pick it up.
I wonder how many bugs are crawling on those clothes.
Yeah,
the
probably.
bed's got bugs.
We've had rally possums. We've had rally, whatever. Why not have a rally bed bug? They'll modern problems require modern solutions.
It's like they'll get a crystal a glass cage or whatever, plastic cage, and just have the bed bugs climb up and down it like rally bugs.
Yes, there you go.
But I don't think it changes the outcome of the first game. I think Oklahoma State will go through Missouri State. Missouri State will do it, probably give them a good game, but I don't think it'll be enough. Arkansas will beat Grand Canyon, though. Grand Canyon's played.
Grand Canyon's been a top
Grand Canyon's very good.
Grand
Very
Canyon's
good.
been good. That's what I was saying. I was like, Grand Canyon's pretty good. So I think Arkansas just gets. I think it's going to be a close one with that one, and I'm not really sure how that second game will go with Oklahoma State and Arkansas, because depending on on the hitting for Oklahoma State, like throughout almost this entire season, even the games where OSU has dominated teams, they always leave runners in scoring position. Almost a lot. Like, they can get on base and get like 2 to 3 runners on, and yet somehow still not get anyone in. That was their detriment in many of their games, especially late in the year, especially games against Texas Tech. They would get runners in scoring position and just do nothing with it. So, I think OSU gets out of the regional, but I'm not gonna be surprised if they lose to Arkansas and then have to play through the losers bracket.
Yeah, I think Grand Canyon beats Arkansas. I think Arkansas is going to make it in the end. I think they'll get the revenge game there. Right. But I'm going to take Grand Canyon tomorrow, and then I think Oklahoma State will get there, and I'll take the if necessary game here as well. I think Arkansas is a very good team, and I think Arkansas has one little hiccup. They'll bounce back, get there, and then Oklahoma State will take that if necessary game. But you mentioned it all depends on which Oklahoma State team shows up.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. You're not really sure what Oklahoma State team you're going to, because pitching, I don't think is the biggest problem. Like,
that's a problem.
Well, what I mean by biggest problem is that OSU can easily play a shootout with teams. The problem is leaving runners in scoring position. That's their problem. They can get on base, they just can't score. That's what will kill them. Pitching, obviously, yes, that will be a killer if they struggle badly if it's not Campbell.
I'm going to disagree a little bit. I mean, OSU has blown a lot of games this year. In terms of they've gotten out to leads, the pitching didn't handle it. I mean, you look at the one game against Tech they blew. You look at the game against OU, I think they're up 6-1 or something like that, and then they walk in the winning run in extras, I think it was, or the 9th inning, something like that.
I will hit you with the microphone.
I'm just giving a thumbs up over here to explain why you said that.
I'll say that. I mean, I think the pitching, it's again, it all depends on which team shows up. Some days it's the pitching that doesn't.
Smug over here. That's why I want to hit him.
Hey, you go ahead.
Hey, we split with OSU in baseball. I'll take that as a win.
It's like, though, he has every right to be smug. It doesn't mean I like it.
It's like, hey, we won 2 games against Oklahoma State. I'll take that. Considering I thought we were going to fire everybody this year, and after we blew that 7-1 lead to Texas.
I remember we were even like 3/4 of the way. You were pretty much dead. You weren't even giving much of a look toward OU baseball.
No, I was ready.
And then you were like, wait a minute, they're actually doing good? I got to watch now.
I was ready to blow it up. I was like, listen, it's over. Get him out of here. This is terrible. This is not Oklahoma baseball.
For a winning record.
Here's the thing. You can have a winning record when you lose to New Orleans, when you lose to Lamar, when you blow games to LSU and Texas in the dumbest ways possible.
I understand
18-0 Wichita State.
18-0 Wichita State. When you lose to K-State for no reason, and that ends up costing you tying the Big 12 regular season title.
Well, then, I think, here, one thing.
The thing that makes me mad is it's like the potential to be a regional, super regional, even Omaha caliber team can be there. You got to be consistent, though, and that drives me up a wall. I understand baseball is a very weird sport and things fluctuate all the time, but when you come to Oklahoma, you got to be consistent. That is the main thing we strive for at OU is consistency in every sport. And that's the thing that drives people up the wall with baseball. And I think softball has almost surpassed baseball because what does softball do every year? They get to OKC.
Well, it's like ever since 2000, they've been one of the premier,
they've been a staple.
They've been a premier softball in the world of softball. Yes. They're the team.
Yeah. So
the dynasty.
So when OU does good and stuff, people support it. And then, okay, you got to do it every year now. We expect that out of football. We expect that out of basketball. We expect that out of every sport. And baseball is why you see OU fans kind of fluctuate on it, and even I do it too, where if they're not supposed to be good, which means if I don't hear anything positive or anything even neutral about them, I just don't hear anything, I take that as a sign of, okay, they're probably going to be bad this year. So I don't expect anything out of them, which was fun to see on social media. OU people kind of like, oh, we're playing for the Big 12 Tournament Championship today. That's great. Can we make it at least a super regional, though? Because if not, that's kind of, yay, we won a thing, but okay, woo.
I will say with winning the Big 12 title game, in turn, basically he made sure you guys were a 2 seed somewhere, so you didn't get the worst outcome possible.
Yeah, well, the thing that was also making OU fans mad is the entire week, OU fans were under the assumption, because a lot of national media started saying is, OU wins the Big 12 tournament, they're 1 seed. They're getting a regional. It's happening. Just started to come into projections after they beat Texas Tech and beat K-State. And so you started to finally build up hype for OU baseball for the first time in nearly over a decade.
And since like 2012.
Yeah, since, they won the last Big 12 tournament in 2013. And it just deflated immediately. And it just turned into, what the heck, guys? We won the Big 12 title. We beat Texas, which is great, but at what cost? We won nothing.
Basically, it pretty much felt like it was like, I understand the frustration. Felt like they already decided where teams were already going to go before the outcomes, because they announced it during the Big 10 game, which was before the Big 12.
Yes.
About we've already set up where the locations are at. So it's like they've already decided. So basically, the championship games don't. Well, they make you automatic qualifiers. They don't guarantee you any the spot that you were probably projected to go.
Yeah. And that's what frustrates me about OU baseball is, okay, we were good in 2018. We made a regional. You go up 2-0. You beat Mississippi State by 10. You beat Samford because they upset Florida State. You're up 2-0. There's no reason in the world you should ever blow that regional. And you get embarrassed by Mississippi State 2 games in a row. And so what did most OU people do? Okay, they're going to be bad. We're not going to watch them in 2019. And then 2019, what a shocker. They didn't make a regional. They weren't that good. 2020, probably the most OU baseball I'd watched since 2013. Why? You throw a no-hitter against LSU. You start like 14-4. You're a top 10 team. People started to finally get behind OU baseball, and then COVID happened. 2021, you lost a lot of people to transferring or the MLB draft, or other people going pro and not getting in the draft, going pro somewhere else overseas. And you have a lot of JUCOs, a lot of true freshmen, and it just deflated everything. So that's why when OU started the year the way they did, you blow a lead to LSU in Houston. You lose a lot of games of those classics in Arlington and Houston. It was just like, oh, this season's over. You can call it in March. We're done. And that's how I felt.
That's why you don't give up. That's why you don't give up on your team.
But you could see why most OU fans.
I get it. Why?
Yeah, and there are some troopers.
But the problem is pretty much the mentality is that, well, if it's not like basically how OU football is almost every year.
Yes, OU.
It's basically like, well, we don't support. That's almost something that other schools don't necessarily have to deal with, because they're like, well, we're riding with our team until
finally. And that's something I was talking to some OU fans about. They said, this is Oklahoma. Your goal is to win a national championship. Your goal is not to make the playoffs. Your goal is to win a national championship. This is Oklahoma. We win at everything.
That's the football mentality.
Yes.
That's the one thing I think many people need to understand, is that you can't take the mindset of football to everything.
But I mean, it works though, because you do it in softball, you do it in golf, you do it in tennis, you do it in gymnastics, both men's and women's. You do it in all these sports. You kind of get to where you expect it in everything. Not saying it's a good mentality to have.
What I'm saying is the thing is by taking that mentality, it's like, my thing is like, you have to realize, okay, this is different. This is not football, but this is a little different. Obviously, way softball has set things up. It's like you're expecting them to make the World Series every year. Whether they win a national title, that's up in the air.
Yes.
Because softball's a weird sport. It's not going to guarantee anything.
Yeah.
But that's all. But the idea is that, we're going to make the World Series every year. That's an understandable way of thinking, because that's just how good they've been doing for over 20 years.
Yeah.
So I understand that mentality completely. But the idea is that, you only win by like 5, and all of a sudden everyone's completely throwing a fit. That's where I'm like, okay, that's just dumb.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with softball, not to get too off track from what I was saying, but I mean, that's something I know I've talked to you plenty of times about, Connor, where if we don't run rule people, something's wrong. We beat OU beat Baylor in a game 3-2, and people started acting like the sky was falling down because we didn't beat them by 10 when we beat them by 10 the day before. What the heck's going on? How do you not win by 10? You just did it 3 games in a row.
Didn't come through. That's just real. The pitching did overall fine.
Yeah.
Just the hitting just kind of. It's like, but it's like OU just has the games where they just don't throw 13 on someone.
Yeah,
it's like it's and they run into a situation where they ended up just losing to Texas, and then the hitting didn't come through because they had to deal with good pitching from our two pitchers, Kelly Maxwell and. I feel bad for forgetting
Morgan Day.
Morgan Day. I feel bad for getting it. It's like it's.
I just found it funny because OU was starting Nicole May and OSU had Morgan Day, and I was like, "Oh, it's May Day!" Ha ha ha! He 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 he. They rhymed. That's funny. Yay, we did it.
All right, let's.
But me ranting about OU baseball aside, I think Oklahoma State takes the regional. I think it's kind of funny because Arkansas and Oklahoma State almost are the exact same team in that they started out amazing. They're going to be a preseason top 10. They both had high expectations. They still do. You see them kind of falter throughout the year, slowly collapsing, and then you have the big boom at the end of the year getting swept by Texas Tech for Oklahoma State. And then they almost immediately rebound after that, and they get put in the same regional, almost geographically similar. They're almost a mirror image, except Oklahoma State rebounded a lot better.
What happened with Oklahoma State was, I think, there's still Arkansas, a similar thing, but it's like OSU started off great, and then they had a small dip early in the season, but then they exploded through the middle of the season, basically beating up everybody, and then that, obviously, the final stretch of the year, they kind of faltered. I mean, getting swept by Tech. We don't want to talk about that.
Gave OU an opportunity, so it was fun watching that.
You're welcome. You're welcome for that.
Thank you.
But
thank you for putting TCU, and Texas on one side of the bracket. I appreciate that very much.
You get the easy.
It was very cool.
Yeah, congratulations getting the easy way out.
Good. We got to beat K-State. It was wonderful. I had a very fun time.
You didn't have to deal with Tech because Tech decided not to play good.
I mean,
you beat them.
We somehow owned Texas Tech this year. I don't know when's the last time I could say that.
I mean, it's like you beat them the first go around, and then they lost to K-State. So it's like that just shows that Tech just forgot how to play baseball.
Yeah. OU got it. I truly think OU got it.
I think if you had to play Tech, I think you guys had to play Tech again. You guys would have probably had to deal with the wrath of Tech.
I think we got in their heads because they were trying to fight us at the end of the game.
Nice.
And then they nearly got into a fight with K-State. So I think we got in their heads there. But speaking of a game that might get a little chippy, TCU gets to go to College Station. Aggies will take on Oral Roberts in Game 1. How about Oral Roberts winning the Summit League? I don't know if any of you saw that. They beat Omaha 21-2 in their championship game.
There you go. That's pretty impressive.
That's how you win. Roberts is usually pretty good at baseball.
You got to win it in their own ballpark, too. That's how you win a conference championship. And TCU, I mean, they're going to play a good Louisiana team. This is going to be another fun regional. And, boy, I'm excited to see A&M and TCU go at it again. I think they will play. Yeah. The storylines in that, the moments these two have created, old Southwest Conference turning into, hey, you took my coach and you're a top 5 team now. We want revenge for what happened.
Oh, and also the one game where the crowd kept chanting ball because he could not throw it.
I mean, the last time these two met, you had the ball 4 game in the Super Regional.
And then they just kept going up and up and up. And it was so funny, but also just like, dude, just throw a strike.
Well, that's the thing. He couldn't.
And then when he finally threw in, the crowd cheered.
Yes, it was great.
It was beautiful.
That's classic A&M moment.
As much as like
they did it that game, so it became a tradition.
It was like as much as me and Cade do not like A&M, and I'm not sure how you feel about them.
I have no problems.
But it was like
you didn't grow up with them.
Yeah, but it's basically like we don't like A&M at all. But that's one of that. I will say they do have their moments where it's fun. I like you guys. Sometimes.
They get their 1 in 100 moments where they're not insufferable.
But I think this one is going to be a really tough one because TCU's going to give. I think TCU's probably going to. I want to say A&M takes the first initial meeting. TCU has to go through the losers bracket, and I think they go to a necessary game. And I think A&M just gets out of the regional.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to go TCU here. I think they're well tested. I think TCU is a very good team. If not, they might even be the best team in the Big 12, top to bottom. I mean, they proved that certain parts of the year. They've beaten some good teams. Yeah. I like them to get out of this region.
Right. See, I've got the opposite of what you have, Carl. I have Texas A&M and TCU, they're going to meet. I think TCU's going to have – they're going to be wanting revenge for all that stuff. I don't know how much people think that plays a factor. I think it does at least a little bit.
I think it does, but I don't think it – I just think it won't be enough.
I think it will the first time, and then that's the wake-up call A&M needs, and they come back and force a Game 7 and take it and go.
So but we both agree A&M's
we
taking
both agree A&M will take
it's
it.
reverse.
We just think it'll be a different. We both want A&M in a Game 7. We both predict that. Just different ways of how we get to that Game 7. Just slightly different, but enough to make it count. And then Louisville getting to host at home. They will get Southeast Missouri State in their game, and Michigan and Oregon. There's a fun stat I saw where for the past 3 years, a team that has a win-loss record difference of 15 has made the World Series. Oregon could be that team this year. They are that wild card kind of team out of the West Coast. We know West Coast baseball. I mean, the style they play, some of those Big West teams, pretty interesting. Pac-12 does that a little bit too. There's rich tradition in that conference. Oregon could be that team this year. They really could.
The other scrappy team, they like the small ball style. I just think Louisville's too much. I think that team is way too talented. I think they'll get out of this region, probably against Oregon.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think Louisville will not have I don't think they'll really struggle as much. I think they don't lose a game in this region, but I won't be surprised if they have they startle here and there, but otherwise they'll pretty much take the regional with not as much issues.
Yeah, I think Louisville wins it as well. I think Oregon will give them a fight for their life, though, but I think Louisville gets the regional victory. And then we might get A&M Louisville or TCU Louisville. You never know what might happen out there. But Coral Gables is going to be another interesting one. Check this out. 9 a.m. start time for your first game.
Oh,
love it.
Miami.
Lovely.
Yeah, baseball.
Lovely.
This was supposed to be an 11 a.m. ESPNU game, but because you got a hurricane potentially coming in, the Canes are moving their game up a little bit. So their game against Canisius will be at 9 a.m. on ESPN+. So wake up and watch baseball. That's all you got to do.
Nothing wrong with that.
Also, if you're on the West Coast, how about you wake up in California, there's baseball at 7 a.m. Andrew, that's your dream.
Wait, that'd be 6. No, that's our time.
Yeah, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, 7 a.m.
I'll say
Pacific.
Miami will be ready. I think they honestly win this region pretty easily. I'm not a big Miami's got that storied baseball history program. Yeah. I mean Arizona's been there before, but I don't think they'll do too much. I think Miami gets through this one. Honestly, this is one of the easier regions I feel like.
Yeah.
I will say as much as I think Miami will play. I'm gonna be ballsy and pick an upset. I think Arizona takes the regional. And it goes to a necessary game. I think Arizona has to fight their way through the elimination bracket and forces a necessary game and takes it. Just surprising Miami. But, I mean, I could easily see Miami taking the regional. I think Arizona will be that team to give them problems.
Mm-hmm. I have Miami winning it. I think Ole Miss and Arizona can be threats. I just don't think they're all well put together enough this year to beat a team like Miami.
I will say.
I could see a Game 7 though easily.
I'd say overall, I think it basically mainly amounts to Miami not playing up to what they can. Mm-hmm. I think they just faltering when they shouldn't. I think, but if you look on paper, it's an easy regional for Miami. Yeah. On paper, but I think Arizona could give them a shock.
They very well could.
And Miami's done it before.
They very well could. Other regional here, Hattiesburg. Southern Miss taking on Army, and then Kennesaw State and LSU should be an interesting one. There's the 2-3. I'm interested to see what your thoughts are on this one because LSU, historic baseball program, a lot of history there. But Southern Miss, kind of the newer kids on the block, but they got some history as well.
They'll try to do it. I think LSU is going to be too much. I think they've been an up-and-down team this year in LSU. I think they're going to hit a good stride here. I like LSU to come out of this region against Southern Miss, but I think Southern Miss Army is going to be a pretty good game, too. They're to start this region, so we'll see what happens there, and I think it's going to be another fun region. I think it's going to be a lot of close games.
I think this will go to a necessary game between Southern Miss and LSU. I mean, I think this is overall a tough regional for Southern Miss overall, but I think in the end, I think Southern Miss just somehow edges out LSU. I think games could go to extra innings for all I know. I think both teams are really good. I know LSU's been here before. They're experienced. They know how to get get past a regional without much issues, but I think Southern Miss will give them a shock, even though I think they'll probably be favored in most of these games.
Yeah, I think LSU is a good enough team to beat Southern Miss. I think they will do it. I don't know. I think LSU has this weird power, it almost feels like, where you can put them in the most weird situations and they find a way to get out of it, unless they're playing Stony Brook. That's their kryptonite. That's the only one
Stony Brook.
That's the only one they couldn't get out of. But LSU is always like that snake up against the wall. You never corner them. And my goodness, they're putting another corner again going to Hattiesburg.
Yeah.
They're one of those teams that they will find a way. It will make no sense how they do it. There will probably be a really weird 10-9 game in there for no reason, and then the next day will be 1-0. But they find ways to win. I'll never understand how they do it, but that's what makes them an elite baseball program. So I got LSU beating Southern Miss in there. Moving on to the final 4 regionals to talk about. Moving on to Gainesville. That's not a bracket, NCAA.com.
I don't want you to read that one.
This one censored by the NCAA. Probably going to be changed with some hurricane stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if these times get moved around. But Oklahoma taking on Liberty tomorrow.
That's going to be a tough one.
And Florida Central Michigan. This is another pretty stacked regional in terms of Oklahoma and Florida getting hot at the right time. Liberty is as well. Central Michigan's a pretty solid MAC team as well. I really don't know who to pick in this one. I want to say OU, just do the homer pick and pick them. But Florida and Liberty are both really good teams as well.
Yeah, I'm really tempted to pick Oklahoma. I really want to, but I just can't pick against Florida. I think the SEC, they're well tested. Obviously, the Big 12 is too, but there's just something about picking against SEC teams come playoff time in baseball, and I'm not going to be able to do it here. I'm going to go Gators over the Sooners in an if necessary game here. It's going to be a very good region, but I just can't pick against the Gators.
I'm with you, Andrew, on that one. I think Oklahoma will give Florida everything they can, trying to go with, obviously, playing them the first time, having to get sent to the elimination bracket, having to fight their way, beat them, but I don't think they'll be able to beat them a second time. I think Florida will just be just too much for OU.
My brain tells me Oklahoma will lose to Florida pretty easily. I think Florida will do it, but my heart says the Sooners are going to do this. So I'm going to trust my instinct of being a Sooner fan. Oklahoma's winning this regional. We're going to beat Florida. Cotton Bowl Part 2, 55-20 incoming. It's going to happen. It's going to have Spencer Rattler's going to show up and do the Gator chomp again.
Well, if you do win, enjoy Virginia Tech.
I will, because every time we go to Virginia in a Super
Regional, we don't know if Virginia Tech's going.
We are, I would say, you don't know. But OU is 1-0 in the state of Virginia in Super Regionals.
There you go. That's all you need.
That's a fun fact.
Undefeated.
Never lost.
Because you only played once.
Hey, that's all you need. And also, the last time OU went to Omaha, they had to play Virginia in a Super Regional, and conference realignment was happening. So, the stars are aligning again.
Sure.
I'm going with it. Virginia Tech does host that Blacksburg Regional we were just talking about. Hokies will take on Wright State in the first game there, and Gonzaga will play Columbia. So, the Ivy League getting to be a 3 seed in this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going Zags here. I think they're an undervalued team. Everyone overlooks them, obviously. Everyone knows them for basketball and everything. You never really hear much about their baseball team. I really didn't know much about them until they swept Oklahoma State. So I started looking at them and following them a little bit. And swept them in Stillwater this year. So, I mean, it's a very solid team, a team that's going to be overlooked. I'm going to say Zags pull this one out over Virginia Tech.
I'm going to disagree with you on that. As good as Gonzaga is, I think Virginia Tech's going to be just too much. I think Virginia gets out of the regional.
I think the Hokies take it. I think this will be a go to 7. Gonzaga's been a top 20 team for most of the year, and for good reason. Yeah. They have a good resume. They're a good team. They're a lot of fun to watch. But I just think the Hokies are just good enough to get that regional win. Final 2 to predict here. Auburn getting to host a regional. And, man, you got people from all over the country in this one. You got Auburn taking on Southeast Louisiana, and then Florida State and UCLA in the other game. The Uclans having to make their trip all the way to Alabama. Not something you really expect to see them do, but here they are. This should be another fun one. Auburn was another one of those teams that people didn't really know. Should they have hosted? Should they not have hosted? They're another one of those, being the 14th seed nationally, a bit of a bubble there, but interesting to see how they'll play at home.
Yeah, I'm tempted to pick Florida State. I'm gonna lean Auburn here, but I think it's gonna be a very good region again. But yeah, give me Auburn here.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I think this will go to a necessary game, but I think Auburn will take the regional.
I think Auburn does as well. They're a good enough team. I don't think Florida State poses enough of a threat. They still will be there. They have the history. They're always in it. But I just don't think they'll be able to do it. And the final regional to talk about, the Corvallis Regional. Oregon State, the number 3 team in the country, taking on New Mexico State in their game. And San Diego playing Vanderbilt, which will lead to a very potentially fun game on Saturday if the two meet of Oregon State and Vandy. A near World Series caliber matchup in the second round of a regional.
Yeah, talk about a team that was supposed to be a lot better and hasn't been able to get going much this year. But I'm going Vandy. I'm going to take Vandy. Last region here, the last upset of the region, of the opening regionals. You can't pick against Vandy in the first round of the College World Series.
As great as Oregon State is, I think Vandy's going to pull off a major upset and knock them out. Oregon State will be one of the first top seed to go.
Yeah. I really don't want to see Vandy get out of this regional. I
agree with that.
I agree with that.
I don't want to see Vandy make it on another run again, but it's hard to pick against the Commodores. It really is.
Especially since, obviously, both these teams have made several World Series appearances over the years.
Yes.
And obviously they're the most battle-tested, but I think Vandy will just has that set in gear that will put them over the top.
But with all of that being said, we got a few more things to check on real quick before we get out of here. Score update. Oregon State up 1-0 in the bottom of the second on Florida. So things getting a little interesting already in this one. Let me see if I can get a score update here with it. It looks like, what can I get here? Yes, Oregon State got a they got a line out to right field that got the RBI. Okay, there we go. I was about to say that said 1-0, but then didn't specify what actually happened there. I was about to be like, please explain what happened. Or, wait a minute. I don't know. NCAA website's being weird. But anyway, Oregon State's up 1-0 in the bottom of the second, so another upset potentially on the way. We're getting closer and closer to the battle of the OSUs actually happening. I joked about this 3 weeks ago of how Oregon State could prove that they're the superior OSU because they got to beat Ohio State in their regional and play Oklahoma State in the World Series. It's actually happening, folks. The battle of the OSUs is coming. We're going to find out who the best orange and black OSU team is. And
that's easy.
It's easy. It's whoever wins. It's whoever wins. It's an OSU will win a game in Oklahoma City. We can declare that will happen. Not going to say which one, though, because the way this World Series has been going, you never know. You really never know. I also want to give a update on the amazing Tempe City Council meeting that is still going. It has been going for nearly 4 hours, it feels like. A representative for the Coyotes claimed that the Sky Harbor Airport does not actually care about the residences in that area, and they just want to be able to extend their runway, and that's why they don't want the arena being built. So
that's just desperation at that point. Yeah, I don't like that about the Coyotes.
That's not a good argument to stand on.
And a lot of stuff going on now. The call-in is going on, basically, where people can call in to the Tempe City Council and voice their pleasure or displeasure about this arena being built. And a lot of people are still clowning on Arizona and saying move the team to Quebec. That is never going to end until they actually bring the Nordiques back.
Which they won't.
Yeah, I mean, they should. No, just as an expansion team or something. I don't know. More expansion teams. That's what we all want, right?
I will say Frank Gore is going to officially retire with the Niners.
Yeah. Yeah, he will officially retire and be a 49er, and we're going to retire as well for the day. It has been a longer show than we've gone in a while, and that's a good thing. So, as we always do, have a good night, everybody. For Andrew Santangelo, for Connor Gray, I'm Cade Kennedy. If you liked what you heard tonight, be sure to give us a follow here on Twitch. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, whether it be the NWTV7 channel or the Guys Who Stare at Stats. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. And until next time, have a great weekend, everybody.